Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon, not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video, but we're gonna do, I think, what is probably gonna be a coda to the situation with Wizards of the Coast and new TSR. Now, we have been covering the new TSR situation, and we actually stopped talking about it, I think, last spring. So just to give you guys a rundown of what's going on currently, new TSR has filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which means that I believe they have to cease operations and they have to sell assets to pay creditors. And they were in a lawsuit with Wizards of the Coast over the TSR trademark, the trademarks. And this is a whole thing. So we're going to talk about this. I think this is probably the end of new TSR, or Nutzer, as some people have been calling them. And look, I have not been covering the blow-by-blow on this thing because it started to get a little weird, and we kind of noped out. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know how it's going to play out. And then, full disclosure, I actually was in contact with people from new TSR at the beginning, and there was some preliminary talks about possibly maybe doing games through them, but they were very, very preliminary. When it became apparent that this company did not have any kind of a business plan or any kind of, frankly, business sense, I was like, yeah, I don't feel real good about this. I think we're better off on our own, and I kind of noped out. But I have been covering the situation because WotC brought the hammer down on these guys pretty damn hard, but they also poked the bear. New TSR poked the bear, and I think if they had just kind of kept their heads down and just made games without the drama, it probably would not have ended the way that it did. So let's talk about this. This is news to me. Again, I haven't been following it very much, but Geeky found this article on Polygon. D&D lawsuit, the new TSR declares bankruptcy, pausing the court case. And again, this is Chapter 7. This means that I think the company is pretty much defunct at this point. I'd be very surprised if they come back from this, and this could be some legal maneuver to get out of a lawsuit with Wizards, but I don't know. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You can go out to clownfishtv.com, where we have more news that we don't have on the channel, on the YouTube channel. And you can see that we started covering Nutzer, new TSR, back in the summer of 2021. We did about 8 or 9 videos on them, and then we stopped. We stopped March of 2022 because I think things were getting a little silly, personally, that there was a lawsuit going on. Now, let's kind of walk it back before we talk about where they're at currently. For those of you who don't know, a new company, this is a new company, claiming to be TSR, got the trademark for TSR, which TSR was, of course, the creators of the original version of Dungeons & Dragons. They came back. They had a logo very similar to the original logo. They got some of the OG D&D creators to come back on board. And my gut reaction as an old school tabletop fan, as a fan of D&D and AD&D 1st and 2nd edition, was, oh, cool. They're getting the band back together outside of Wizards of the Coast. This might actually be a good thing. And then we saw a lot of drama. And we saw that Ernie Gygax, who is one of the sons of Gary Gygax, he got dogpiled on Twitter because of an interview he did on a podcast. And he slipped and he said something to the effect of, there's a lot of talk about gender ideology in tabletop games right now, and I just kind of don't get it. And that was enough to get him chastised, banned, blocked, then the association with TSR. Now, this version of TSR is not owned by Ernie Gygax. It's actually owned by Justin Lanassa, who is a guy, he owns tattoo parlors or something. He wanted to get into politics. He didn't. And Ernie came along for the ride. I don't know exactly how that worked out, to be honest. But they were, reaching out to some of the old school TSR crew that felt disenfranchised by Wizards, right? Unfortunately, things took a turn for the weird, and it seemed to be a very combative situation where new TSR, from my vantage point, seemed more interested in fighting a culture war than they were in making games. In fact, I don't know if they made any games. The only game that got released, I think maybe a couple of LaNASA's games got released. And I know that a new version of Star Frontiers got leaked, and it had some pretty questionable decisions in regards to race. You can go out and you can Google that and you can see that whole thing. I've never looked at it, so I don't know specifically what was in there, but it was like, yeah, every ethnicity of human had different traits, and many of them were very stereotypical, and it was a very weird thing to put into a science fiction tabletop game. Lots of people kind of walked away. At that point, I was already out. I mean, long before that, I'm just like, yeah, I don't really see a plan. Nah, I'm good. But I was kind of keeping an eye on the situation, because where it started to get sticky was who owned the trademark. So there were accusations that LaNASA and crew got the TSR trademark because the previous trademark owner was asleep at the wheel. Now, there was another guy in the middle of original TSR, which eventually got bought by Wizards of the Coast, and Nutzer, or new TSR, or TSR 3.0, whatever you want to call him, the current TSR. There was another guy who owned the trademark, and he was publishing Top Secret, and he apparently let the trademark lapse, and that's when LaNASA swooped in and grabbed it. And then there was a huge drama about that, so that guy wound up changing his name. Now, the thing is that Wizards of the Coast let this guy published a game called Top Secret for years. TSR used to publish Top Secret. I don't know if he had to deal with them or what exactly was going on, but they basically left him alone because he wasn't whacking the beehive. And I 100% think that TSR 3.0 might have been left alone had there not been deliberate brand confusion and had they just kind of kept their heads down and made games. But what happened was new TSR went out and almost immediately filed a lawsuit against Wizards, claiming that Wizards needed to take language off of old school TSR modules that they still sell through DriveThruRPG, and that they were calling them, racist and homophobic or whatever. They have the statement, because we know where Wizards is at right now, currently, right? They're very quote unquote woke, right? So they were kind of making disparaging comments against their own modules from years ago, which TSR argued hurt the careers of the guys who wrote those modules. Okay. So they went to go crowdfund this thing, and they got, I don't know, I think it was like $11,000 or whatever. So they basically whacked the beehive. They went in guns blazing. They were going to sue Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast countersued. And again, I'm sure I'm missing a lot of details here because this is a whole thing. I'm sure there are threads on forums and stuff that covers it a lot more thoroughly than I can. So Wizards struck back by saying, hey, there is brand confusion here. You're using R&Disha, and they were using the old Wizard Head logo, like the old TSR logo, and the Lizard Man and some other things, which I was under the impression they owned those assets, or they had rights to those assets, or Ernie had those assets, because why the hell would you use them if you didn't have a legal right to them, knowing that you're dealing with a company like Hasbro? Well, guess what? They didn't own that stuff, so they got sued by Wizards of the Coast. And then, in all this, there was, they got banned from Origins, they got banned from Gen Con. They split from one of the original games they're supposed to publish was Giant Lands. They split. TSR advertisers got threatened for going to this convention they were putting on. They deliberately, I guess, they put on conventions that went up right against GaryCon to try to cash in on that. I think, again, my memory is foggy of this. I've been trying to put this whole situation like, God, that was very disappointing from my point of view as an old school TSR fan who was hoping that the band would get back together. I'm like, what a fucking disappointing situation this turned out to be. All you guys had to do was just make games. Just make games. And make a logo. You could call yourself TSR or whatever, but make it look nothing like the original. Make it very clear to people that you're not the original company, because that original company was purchased by Wizards. It is their property now. I mean, you don't have to like it. I don't agree. I definitely do not agree with a lot of the stuff that Wizards is doing. But I recognize that Wizards did purchase TSR and all assets of TSR. They own TSR. You can't be like, hey, I know Disney bought Star Wars, but I worked on Star Wars. So now I'm going to go make some more Star Wars, or we're going to call it, something very similar to that. But it's obviously Star. You can't do that. They own everything, and they struck back pretty hard. And now apparently TSR is declaring Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So the reason I gave you the backstory is because this article doesn't go into all the drama. And I'm even giving you we're talking like Chris Chan levels of drama around this whole situation that's been very, very well documented by other people. I don't agree with some of the takes of some of the people that have opinions on this. There are people that were gunning, right out of the gate for various reasons. But, it is what it is. This is where they're at right now. So we're gonna wade back into this. And I'm just reading this article. I don't know. I don't have any inside knowledge. I haven't talked to anyone over there that's currently associated with the company. I haven't talked to anyone over there in quite some time. So D&D lawsuit, the new TSR declares bankruptcy, pausing court case coming from Charlie Hull on Polygon. The trial had previously been set for October, and there's no way in hell you're going to win against Hasbro. I'm sorry. It's like it really, like I said, all you had to do was keep your head down and make games and make sure that there was no brand confusion. Like we are a new TSR. We are a spiritual successor to the original, but we are not trying to be that company. We are not that company. We're a new entity. That's all you had to do. And I think they probably would have left you alone. That's my personal opinion, because they left the other guy alone. I don't know. Lawsuits pending between Dungeons & Dragons publisher Wizards of the Coast and a newly formed TSR are on pause as of June 12th. That's because TSR 3.0, has filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. That is the liquidation of the company's property. So that means they have to sell everything. Such a filing triggers an automatic stay, which is a pause on any other legal proceedings involving the company. So by default, and I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just going to guess that because the company is basically liquidating its assets, there is no more company to sue. So this might have been like the final out card for TSR, is just like, we just shut the company down and there's no lawsuit, right? Nevertheless, TSR's website remains online and the company appears to be accepting orders for the products. That just could be that they didn't update the website. Polygon has reached out to TSR's bankruptcy lawyer for comment. Good luck with that. TSR was originally founded in 1973 by Gary Gygax and Don Kay. Correct. The company was purchased in 1997 by Wizards of the Coast. Correct. The newly formulated TSR is owned by budding game publisher Justin Lanassa, a resident of North Carolina. There was another TSR in the middle there, and I don't know the full story, but they were able to use the trademark without problems, as I understand it, because they didn't pretend to be the original TSR that, was now owned by Wizards of the Coast. The problem here is they basically went in and said, yeah, we're the old TSR and we're coming back, kind of. They didn't explicitly say that. If you asked them, they would say, no, we're not. We're just, but the logos, they were using the same damn logos and they had no right to do that. And that was the biggest problem. And they spent more time creating drama online than producing games, in my opinion. Just make a fucking game and keep your head down. Put the game out there, and when people ask you for comment, then you can comment. But damn, such a wasted opportunity. Just a wasted opportunity. He's best known for a chain of tattoo parlors and also for failed political campaigns. Yeah, there's something with wrestling in it. I don't know. I literally talked to Justin Lanassa like one time. The new TSR initially filed suit against Wizards of the Coast in December of 2021, claiming that Wizards had abandoned multiple trademarks and copyrights related to the purchase of TSR. Wizards is countersuing TSR and Lanassa personally for trademark infringement, cyber squatting, and more. Now, here's where trademarks get sticky. We actually have been in litigation over trademarks. You have to be actively using it, but you also can, if you can prove you have a right to a trademark, even if somebody else has registered it, they can actually take it. The trademark office can take it from them. So if you were like Joe's Potato Salad and everybody knew Joe's Potato Salad, but Joe didn't register his trademark, and then some other Joe's Potato Salad popped up in the same market, it has to be the same market, the same thing. and he's across town and there's another Joe's Potato Salad, but he registered the trademark and the trademark office gave it to him because they really didn't, like whatever. Cause really these people don't look into the granular details of it unless they have a reason to. So like, is your name Joe's Potato Salad? Yeah. Do you have a company, Joe's Potato Salad? Yeah. Okay. So we're just going to give you this trademark because obviously you're using it. Well, then the original Joe comes back and says, hey, I've been Joe's Potato Salad since 1978. And this guy opened up last week, or last month. I want my trademark back. And then you can prove I opened Joe's Potato Salad. People know about Joe's Potato Salad. I had business cards with Joe's Potato Salad. The original 1978 Joe's Potato Salad can technically take the trademark from the new guy. Because if it's proven that the new guy did it maliciously, in this case, they didn't register TSR blindly, like, well, we didn't know there was another game company called TSR. They literally registered it because of the brand recognition, and they used the same damn logos. I don't understand that. I thought they maybe had a right to it. I thought maybe, Ernie owned those logos or something, and that is not the case. I'm like, oh my God, on no planet are you going to win this. I saw this, and I'm like, shit, there's no way you're going to win this. Like, I thought it was suicidal of them to go attack the bear and try to sue Hasbro over language they put on older material that they now own. There's no way in hell you're going to win that. I was just like, what are you guys doing? Just make games. How is this hard? Just fucking make games. Keep your head down and make games. And if a problem comes to you, then you deal with it. But you don't go out and make problems. Just I'm very salty about this because it's such a wasted opportunity. It was such a wasted opportunity. In September, Wizards made the unusual request that a judge prevent TSR from publishing role-playing games, a role-playing game that said was, in addition to being based on trademarks in dispute, filled with blatantly racist and transphobic content. That would be Star Frontiers, which I have not looked into that. Because the headlines, of course, are going to be like, it's blatantly racist and transphobic. Yeah, what I've heard of it, if those are true, again, it could be, it's hard to tell what is true and what is not true online. But if the leaked version of Star Frontiers is true, a couple things going on here. One, TSR still sells Star Frontier in the drive-thru RPG as PDFs, right? Which I thought was weird too. When they said they're bringing Star Frontiers back, I'm like, how? Like, was that not owned by TSR? Like, completely, was it like somebody else? I assumed everything was on the up and up. Oh, no, it was not. And this is, I just noped out based on the fact that there was no fucking business plan. And I'm like, holy shit, guys, seriously, what the hell? So yeah, apparently, they didn't have the rights to Star Frontiers. The trademark lapsed, so they were going to go after that and then create brand confusion and be like, yeah, it's a sequel to the original TSR. We're a sequel to TSR and so's the game. And it's like, hell no. And then the game, I guess, had some very questionable gameplay mechanics and character creation stuff. This is where it gets bad, though. Documents filed in North Carolina paint a grim picture for TSR. They show gross revenue for the first 23 weeks of the year were just $621.93. Total liabilities, which include money owed to Lanassa himself, as well as another of his businesses, plus legal fees, total $384,000. A trial date for both lawsuits had previously been scheduled for October, but a judge for the U.S. District Court in Seattle postponed it until March 2024. It's unclear if that date will be moved once again, once the bankruptcy proceedings are complete and the automatic stay is lifted. I think this is it. I think it's over at this point. And again, I think what's so frustrating about the situation is that this, under other circumstances, this could have been a slam dunk. We're going to start a company that feels like old TSR. Well, they got into a bunch of lawsuits right out of the gate, so I guess they got that right. But we're going to start a company that feels like old school TSR. We're going to get some of the guys who worked on those games to come back and work on new games that feel like they could have been produced by TSR in the 80s and 90s, but weren't necessarily exactly those things. And that's what I thought they were going to do. But instead, they're like, no, let's just go in and start suing Hasbro. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? This is Dark Jaguar. This was the best possible situation. I never wanted WotC to be a part of shutting down new TSR. They had no business suing over it because new TSR wasn't violating terms of contract. Anti-discrimination laws would be more valid with a party that actually had standing involved. I'm not sure what we currently have in the books actually covers this. Rather, the best case was for the tabletop community to shut this company down by spreading the word on how racist and horrible they are. Bad at Hasbro has become, as they have become, WotC's leadership with it. We didn't need them winning their case and gaining the legal precedent to shut down other groups. They didn't do this to have a moral standing. They did have greed. That is actually true. That's actually true. So they did try, the community tried to shut them down right out of the gate. Unfortunately, in that case, at first I could not support that because they targeted Ernie Gygax for basically making fun of gender identity, but he really wasn't. He really wasn't. He's just like, I don't get it. You know, like I don't get why all the conversations have to focus on gender identity and gender politics or whatever. You do you, boo, you know, whatever. And that was enough to have people, you know, go at Ernie Gygax. And he's just like, what the hell did I step into? Spreading racist propaganda under the guise of returning to tradition was never going to be acceptable. So they went bankrupt before the case could go to court. Being a company more interested in money, they'll likely call it off here, thus losing a chance to set this as a dangerous precedent. Yeah, Hasbro doesn't give a shit. This is the thing too. And this is where it does get tricky because I was critical of WotC before any of the new TSR stuff. I was critical of WotC because it was like they were going too hard, I think, in the racist and, you know, anti-racist language to the point of it getting absolutely ridiculous. You know, everything was racist, everything was homophobic, everything was, you know, whatever, problematic. And it wasn't just that they would do that, it was that they would make a big deal of it. And then they turned around and they stuck a knife in the backs of their fans anyway. You know, so it's all, you know, I was right. It was all show. Yeah, so there really isn't like a good guy scenario in this. So we had so many people standing for Wizards of the Coast, thinking they were the good guys, only to have them turn around a year or two later and try to steal everybody's shit with the OGL 1.1, jacking up the prices of their books, you know, and all this other nonsense, sending the freaking Pinkertons to your house. You know what I'm saying? So like, you can't really root for Hasbro either. But whatever the case is, I think new TSR is done. I think what is going to happen, I think we will have other companies that quote unquote return to tradition, but they're going to focus on just making games and just, you know, trying to sell games to as many people as possible. And they're going to fall all over the place on the political spectrum. But as long as you just make your game, you put out a good product and you're not out there making statements, you know, alienating potential customers, I think you're fine. You might have people come and be like, well, that's character's racist or whatever. Then don't buy the game. But you don't have to make such a damn big deal about it either. You know, I just think it's tragic in the fact that I really wanted this to be a return to form. I really wanted to see this succeed, and they blew themselves up almost immediately. And also, it's sad that so many people went to bat for Wizards and they tried to paint Wizards as being the good guys in the situation when they clearly are not. So it is what it is, guys. I would say personally, go look elsewhere for your tabletop fix. Wizards is not going to get better. I think new TSR is done. But Wizards is not going to get better either. So it is what it is. I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Sorry, I yelled loudly.
That's okay. I got the limiter on.
Okay. So
you can tell my
kick setting.
Yeah, you can
Wait,
tell.
really? It automatically limits it when I yell?
It does. When the pitch gets too high, it does. Sometimes if you sound like all robotic, it's because it's bringing the decibels down.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Help support the channel. Go to thereef.support and get early access to podcasts, videos, and other content. That's thereef.support.